recently moved up and was promoted and not liking it because I have to adjust massively. Is there a difference between liking your job and a lack of discipline to perform a change? Are they connected? Yeah, well, they're definitely connected. It's a tough one. The first thing I would say is that if it was a real radical change, it takes people, unless they're very young, it takes people about a year to adjust to a really radical change, like to move to a new city, to adjust to being married. That can take longer than a year. To adjust to having a new baby, to getting over a relatively serious loss like a death in the family, a year. And so the first thing you might ask yourself is, are there things that are good about the promotion? The second is, do you have the capacity to do the job or to learn how to do it? You could talk to someone about that. And then the third thing is, have you given yourself enough time to adjust? Because one of the things I often recommend to people when they've made a radical change, like leaving home and going to university, is don't pay any attention to how you feel for a year, because everything is so much up in the air that you can't really trust your own judgment. So you have to give yourself time to adapt, and you can't expect that that's going to happen overnight. It's certainly not, and to put that expectation on yourself increases the probability that you're going to feel bad about it. So let's see. Atomic Carlos says, my IQ is north of 130, yet I question my own intelligence all the time. I feel a big cognitive dissonance between what people expect of me and what I consider myself capable to do. Well, Carlos, what I would recommend there is that if you haven't done it, just go do the personality test at understandmyself.com, because what you're describing sounds very much like high levels of negative emotionality or neuroticism. And you might want to find out if that's the case, because if you're much higher than average in neuroticism, then you're going to be questioning yourself all the time. And you might want to figure out if that's actually a trait. And if it is a trait, well, then that gives you an explanation of it. And then you might also note that your levels of negative emotion are not well matched to your likely skill. Now, that doesn't necessarily help you learn to cope with it, but sometimes identifying the reason is useful. And there's another possibility too, is that your mood is dysregulated and that you're depressed. So that's another thing to consider. If you do find that you have high levels of neuroticism but you're not depressed, then one of the things you might do is write down all the reasons, like really think them out. I mean, really get serious about this. Write down all the reasons why you might give yourself more credit for intelligence than you have. And part of that could be like a really deep reconsideration of successes you've had in the past with complex intellectual issues. Because imagine that you're serving as your own defense attorney against a very critical part of your mind. That can help a lot. That can help.